Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again. A couple of months ago, I posted a video on the channel where, for the first time, I think, since I started talking about books on YouTube, I talked about my own writing, the fact that I write fiction, I like to write stories and novels, and I talked a bit about my experience with it, my struggles and difficulties with it, and also my difficulties getting my work published, especially my novels. I've never found a publisher or an agent interested in taking them on. And I really appreciated the feedback that I received, the comments that people were leaving, sharing their own experiences with their creative endeavors and maybe some of the difficulties they encountered finding an outlet for them, or people who were in a similar situation to mine. It was really encouraging. People were really kind. A lot of people were interested in hearing about my experience as somebody who writes or has been writing in a language other than his native language. I'm an Italian native speaker and I've been writing in English for the last 10 plus years. And I will film a dedicated video about that. I'll talk about my experience with that another time. I think I'll post that video quite soon. And another point a lot of people raised was wondering why I don't self-publish one or more of my novels, why I don't put them out there. I've mentioned in that video some of my thinking behind that, and obviously the video is linked out in the description box if you haven't watched it, if maybe you're a little curious. For the longest time, I wasn't sure whether what I was writing was any good, and that was part of why I didn't really consider self-publishing. I wasn't sure it was worth it, and I'm still not sure it's any good. For all I know, it's still crap. But in the last few years, I've got to a stage where, at least for the novels that I've been working on in the recent past, I'm fairly confident that I've got them to as fit a state as I can get them. And I'm relatively confident stepping away from them. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad. I think talking about good or bad with these things is relatively pointless. Maybe they're close to what I was trying to achieve. Maybe they're far. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it isn't. But regardless of that, I feel like I'm okay stepping away from them. On top of that, I've also actually started writing in Italian for the first time in more than a decade. That comes with its own immense challenges. And yeah, I've gone back to writing in my native language. I think in 2025, I've written in Italian more than I have in English for, again, the first time in a very long time. So I'm in this strange in-between moment when I'm trying my hand at something new, but I still have these works that are sitting in the proverbial drawer. And part of me wants to challenge myself and wants to try something new. You know that old saying about how madness, the definition of madness, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Very often in the last few years, I felt like I was courting madness, like I was trying the same road for everything I wrote, and then being surprised that the result and the outcome was always the same. So partly to challenge myself, partly to try something new, partly out of sheer curiosity, I have decided to put one of the novels I've written out into the world, to share it online, to make it available to interested readers. I don't doubt that a good part of my hesitancy with self-publishing for a long time was due to, call it laziness, call it fear, to the idea that as long as you don't try too hard, as long as you don't dare, you don't risk, you don't expose yourself, you can keep telling yourself that you are an unrecognized genius and that what you write is amazing. Whereas when you put it out there and when you share it with people and when you maybe come to realize its limitations, its strengths, and of course its weaknesses, hopefully it allows you to evolve and to just go about the business of creating. And I say business meaning, the act of creating, not the money-making pursuit of creation, just from a different angle, and maybe it keeps it interesting and new. I've spent the last, 12, 13 years posting videos on YouTube where I talk about good books. I very rarely bother reviewing a book if I think it's mediocre, and I review bad books or books I didn't like even less than that. There's a playlist on my channel which is called, I think, Excellent Reads, where I talk about books that I think are really awesome and you should really read. So what I'm trying to say is, I think you should read all those books first. I think if you're looking for recommendations, I can maybe offer a few. But if for whatever reason you are curious to read what I've written, now you can. The novel I've decided to share is called Feverish Zest, and I'll include instructions in the description box on how you can download it as an ebook. The ebook is available for $1. If you decide to read it, please know that I'm incredibly grateful. I think you'll also be able to purchase it as print on demand. If you'd rather read a paper copy of the book, you should be able to acquire a paper copy. Again, instructions are in the description to the video. I really struggle to talk about my writing. It's so much easier to comment on the books that other people have written. But just to give you a sense of what the book is about, what the story is about, I would say it's a family saga. It's the story of a family who own a deli, a shop where they cook food. They cook for the neighborhood in Monza, which is this city on the outskirts of Milan, which curiously is also the same place I come from. What a coincidence. The parents in this family are Giro and Gemma. Giro is really easygoing, really friendly, but he's also a bit full of himself. He's convinced that he's a great chef, and he has these dreams of maybe one day opening a restaurant, becoming an established chef. Whereas Gemma is much more level-headed, much more sensible, but she's also a bit of a hard ass, and she's quite quick to anger. Giro and Gemma have 2 children. The book starts in the 90s. They've just bought the deli. They've moved into an apartment just upstairs from the shop. And the event that kickstarts the novel is the fact that they receive a visit, a strange visit one day. A child shows up on their doorstep carrying a note from Gemma's sister saying that the kid is her daughter and that they should take her in, that Gemma should look after her and take care of her. And Gemma is really confused because last she checked, her sister didn't have any children, and this kid is quite grown up. She's at least 7 or 8 years old. And the kid also looks nothing like her sister. Among other things, the kid is black, her sister isn't. Who is this child? Where did she come from? How did she get here? She seems either unable or unwilling to speak. She doesn't seem interested in helping them solve the mystery. And they are left deciding what to do with her. And a couple of days later, somebody else also has to come and crash at their place in their apartment. This time is Giro's brother, who has recently been fired from his job at Milan University following a scandal. He's been evicted from his apartment in Milan, and he has no place to go. He is really down on his luck. And this double exile into the family apartment brings the family together, but also gets them to clash and kickstarts events that will then develop over the course of, call it a decade, basically throughout the childhood and the teenage years of Giro and Gemma's kids, both their biological children, and Grace, who's the child who showed up on their doorstep that day and who just becomes part of this family in one way or another. And the story is it's a story about food, about the ways it can bring us together when we lack maybe healthier ways to communicate with each other. It's a book about music for sure. It's a book about ambition and our dreams. Do they help us? Do they hinder us? Do they make us better people? Do they make us obnoxious? Sometimes I wonder. And all of these events are narrated. The story of this family is narrated by a spider living on the deli's ceiling and witnessing these events, witnessing the clashes and the evolutions within the family from its vantage point on the ceiling. As you can maybe tell, as a novel, it's at times quite square, at times quite quirky. I guess I've tried to write it in the vein of the writers I admire and I enjoy reading, especially people like Michael Chabon, Jonathan Lethem, Jennifer Egan, if they're your type of writers too, which sometimes weave in narrative elements from other genres into even their most straight narratives. If you're curious about those types of books, if you're curious about the world of Italian delis, you might find something to enjoy in Feverish Zest. Regardless of that, if you decide to give it a read, please know that I'm really grateful and I really appreciate your time. As I mentioned before, you should be able to purchase a paper copy if you wish. But I also printed about 10 copies of the book in the course of the summer for another reason, and I still have quite a few knocking about in the apartment. So if you want a copy of the book, if you're interested in reading it, let me know. There's an email address below, because again, I just have them here gathering dust. I'd be happy to send them out for free. I don't really mind. Especially if you live in the UK or in Europe, just because the postage would be much lower in that case. But do let me know wherever you are, and I can see if I can find a way of getting the book to you in a way that's not incredibly expensive. Again, it's just a few copies, but anybody who's interested, please reach out. I'm happy to send them out. If anything, I'm grateful for that you're interested in taking a look. I am sure I've sounded plenty awkward in the course of the video. It's because I struggle to expose myself and talk about my stuff and say, hey, you should read what I've written. But please know, as I've mentioned, that if you do decide to give it a try, if you're curious to take a look at what I've written, I am really grateful and I do appreciate it. And I know it's a lot when, with all the awesome books out there, you decide to spend some time taking a look at mine. So that's really cool. It's really cool that you watched the video in the first place. So thanks so much for that. And I guess bye, everybody.